So here's how Zac Taylor should have responded in the press conference the other day. There's a chance that Jon Gruden is our head coach next year. If they do fire Zac Taylor, which that's an if because, let's be honest, front office doesn't want to get rid of him and front office doesn't see him as an issue. Let's listen to Jon Gruden now.
Defensively have drafted a lot of players over the last several years. Their philosophy obviously is draft and develop, kind of like Green Bay. This defense has not developed. I mean, they got a lot of high picks on every level of that defense. They just fired Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator. Guess where he is right now calling them up? He's with the 7-1 Colts. So you bring Al Golden. Al Golden's a good coach. But if you don't have players, I don't care what kind of coach you are. And I go back to some of these college coaches. These players are getting paid a lot of money. Some of these players got to play a lot better. And some of these players got to quit getting hurt. Hell, there's about 10 guys on every team that don't even play. And we sit here and bitch about the coach. Let's fire him every day. I say we get some of these trainers run out of the league and get some of these players to give back their money because they got to play better. But the Bengals defense, that was disgusting. That was a terrible effort yesterday. 500 yards versus the Jets. And the Jets don't have a receiver that I can name. I can't name their wide receivers. And they got gashed, and they weren't ready to play. And offensively, their offensive line, they haven't given an offensive lineman a second contract since Clint Bowling. I mean, this is a bunch of rental properties on the offensive line, and Burrow's hurt every year, it seems. So we're rambling. But I'm from Ohio, and these Bengals pick me off.
All right, so maybe not all of that in the press conference, but the disgusting part for the defense giving up 500 yards to the Jets, and I mean, it wouldn't be bad to throw in I couldn't even name their wide receiver one or any receiver on their team. You know, can you imagine the Bengals defense and how they would feel after hearing that from their head coach? They might actually get their crap in gear. They might actually fix some things. Or what they would do is, under Jon Gruden, we wouldn't be in that situation. We wouldn't have those guys because this would get fixed. And again, am I saying Jon Gruden is the best candidate ever for a head coach with Bengals? I don't know if he's the best candidate, but he's better than Zac Taylor. He's better than Zac Taylor. And honestly, at this point, anything is better than Zac Taylor, for being honest. So I want to go ahead and bring up this statistic from the last 3 games. So let's look at the last 3 games. This is the second half. Shout out to Will Lutz for posting this. This is the second half of the last 3 games, okay? Packers game. In the second half, we allowed touchdown, touchdown, field goal. Steelers game. Touchdown, touchdown, punt, touchdown, failed, Hail Mary, end of game. Jets game. Punt, field goal, touchdown, 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 kneel down. Okay? And even in the Packers game, they kind of let up at the end of the game. They could have scored another touchdown, but they kind of let up at the end. Listen. Looking at this, I don't know what Zac Taylor tells the team at halftime. I honestly would love to see an inside, edition of the halftime locker room with the Bengals, because there's no way he tells them anything logically smart or anything logically just anything at all. Honestly, he probably doesn't even talk to them. He probably sits there with his thumb up his ass and just says, "Hey guys, we're doing good. We haven't lost a game yet." Like, bro. Can you imagine having like a Jon Gruden type guy in that locker room just chewing the crap out of the defense when they act like this and they suck like this? Like, bro, that's what we need. We need a leader at head coach. We need a leader at GM. We need a leader in the front office. You know how the other day Zac Taylor went on a rant about how we need a leader, right? We need a leader on defense. We need an accountability on defense. What we need is a leader at head coach. We need a leader at GM. We need a leader in front office. We need somebody who's not going to accept what is being what is actually happening here. We need someone who's not going to accept this bullcrap anymore. That's why, again, I think a lot of people, myself included, they look at Jon Gruden and they think, this is a guy who wouldn't accept it. This is a guy who wouldn't put up with it. This guy who has won a Super Bowl. This is a guy who really is known as a hard-ass guy and doesn't accept this bullcrap. Now, here's the problem. I don't think that would work with the ownership. I don't think Mike Brown, Katie Blackburn, they don't like when people go against them. They don't like when people don't follow their policy and their rules. They don't like when people fight back. And that's the biggest issue is I don't think we'd ever get Jon Gruden because I don't think the ownership would ever allow that. They don't want someone who's going to sit there and fight and say what they're doing is wrong and not correct because they want yes men. That's all the ownership wants. They want a Zack Taylor who's a yes man, who sits there and nods his head like a good little boy and says, oh yeah, anything you say, Mike, anything you say, Katie, I like it, please give me more. That's all they want. Duke isn't even a real GM. He's a player personnel, so they don't have to pay him like a real GM. No real GM in the league would ever allow you to not pay him like a real GM. That wouldn't happen. But when you have this like playing house type scenario you got in the front office, it allows you to be able to do that. Because you're playing house. You're not really actually a front office. You're playing a front office character and you're doing it bad. That's the sad part. You know, if you're going to at least play the part, at least play the part. But the fact is, whoever they get, because do I think they're going to fire Zack Taylor at the end of this year? No, I don't think they will. I don't think they will at all. Do I want them to? Absolutely yes. Yes, please. I want them to fire Duke Tobin. I want them to fire Zack Taylor. I want them to get rid of both. They won't, though. And as I said many times in my videos, unless you cut the snake off by the head, it's just going to keep swarming around and it's never going to die. You have to gut it from inside, and you have to start at the head. The head is Katie Blackburn down. You're not going to get Mike Brown. The fact is, you're not going to be able to take him out here. When I say take him out, I mean like out of ownership and not controlling the team anymore. I don't mean anything malicious, okay? My point is, you got to start at the top and work your way down. Katie, you got to go. Go work down from there, right? Then you got front office, personnel, you got to go. You got to fire Duke Tobin. Fire Zack Taylor. Get rid of some of the positional coaches as well. They're not working out as well. Right? You work your way down. Because if not, if you fire Zack Taylor and you don't fire Duke Tobin, all you're going to get is another Zack Taylor. That's the fact. Duke Tobin's not going to sign, or Katie Blackburn's not going to sign someone who is going to go against them and be a guy with an actual brain, right, who has their own opinions and ideas. They're not going to. They want another yes man. You know, honestly, I threw this idea out there about, I think it was a month ago. They're going to sign Jason Garrett. If they fire Zack Taylor, expect Jason Garrett to be the new OC / head coach. Because they're going to just get someone who's a yes man. They would never get Jon Gruden. That's why you have to get rid of both. You get a real GM in here, and I mean not play pretend. A real GM, and I'm going to be blunt here, with an actual ball sack, you're going to get someone he's going to bring in his head coach. And what's going to happen is Katie's going to say, no, we don't want that guy. He's not a yes man. And the GM's going to say, you hired me to do my job, to bring in a head coach that I think is good. And then that's when you're going to get change. Again, Katie's still going to fight it, right? Front office, you want the GM to be able to populate the front office. I don't think Katie would give up that much control. But in reality, eventually, she's going to have to. People don't go to the games anymore. people don't buy your merch, people don't buy your crap, you're not making money as a company like you used to, eventually you're going to have to give in. And that's just kind of how it is. You know, as fans, we make decisions, we force them to make decisions with our wallets. You don't like what they're putting out there, you don't like the content they're putting out there, don't pay for it. So, that's, again, my cup of tea, but definitely know your thoughts, opinions. See you guys next one.